The desert wind moved softly across the plains of the Arizona Territory, carrying dust and the faint scent of mesquite smoke through the cooling evening air. The sky burned in shades of orange and crimson as the sun slowly dipped behind the jagged mountains, casting long shadows across the open land. Near a small campfire, Tala stood in silence, her figure steady and proud against the fading light. Her long black hair flowed freely down her back, stirred gently by the breeze, and her dark eyes remained fixed on the distant horizon as if searching for answers written in the dying sun. Across from her sat Cole Turner, a hardened cowboy shaped by the unforgiving frontier. His hat rested low over his brow, and the lines on his face told stories of cattle drives, gunfights, and lonely winters. He had survived droughts, outlaws, and the brutal vastness of the West, but nothing had ever unsettled him like the silence between them now. They had met 2 years earlier during violence that should have made them enemies. A clash between settlers and her tribe had left dust, smoke, and grief scattered across the land. Yet in the aftermath of fear and suspicion, something unexpected had grown. A shared glance became cautious conversation. Cautious conversation became trust. And trust, against all odds, became love. Tonight, however, felt different. The air itself seemed heavy, as if the desert knew what was coming. Tala finally drew a slow breath. When she spoke, her voice was calm, but beneath it lay a quiet storm. "This is my last night with you. I'm leaving." The word struck harder than a bullet. Cole's chest tightened, and for a moment he thought he had misheard her. The fire cracked sharply between them, sparks rising into the darkening sky. "What are you saying, Tala?" he asked, standing slowly, disbelief clear in his voice. "My people are moving north before dawn," she replied without turning. "The soldiers are coming again. If I stay here, I betray my blood." Cole stepped closer, his boots pressing into the sand. "Then I'll go with you." At that, she turned to face him. Her eyes softened, but her resolve did not. "You are not Apache. The tribe will never accept you. And your world will never forgive me." The last light vanished beyond the mountains, leaving only twilight and the fragile space between love and duty. The moon climbed high above the desert, spilling silver light across the quiet plains of the Arizona Territory. The fire had burned low, its embers glowing like fading hope between them. Cole Turner stood a few paces away from Tala, his heart pounding harder than it ever had in a gunfight. The words she had spoken still echoed in his mind. "This is my last night with you. I'm leaving." He had faced stampeding cattle and armed outlaws without fear, but the thought of waking up without her beside him felt unbearable. "You can't just walk away," he said, his voice rough with emotion he rarely showed. "We've built something real here." Tala's silhouette shimmered in the moonlight, strong yet somehow fragile against the vast desert behind her. "What we built was never meant to last in this world," she replied quietly. "Not with soldiers hunting my people and settlers claiming more land each season." Cole ran a hand through his hair, frustration rising in his chest. "Then we leave it all behind. I'll sell the ranch. We'll head west, California, maybe even Mexico. Somewhere nobody knows us. We can start fresh." His voice softened as he stepped closer. "I don't care about this land if I can't share it with you." Tala studied him carefully, her dark eyes reflecting the pale glow of the moon. She loved his stubborn heart, the way he believed problems could be outrun like a coming storm. But she knew some storms followed you wherever you went. "You think running will stop the world from chasing us?" she asked gently. "Your people will call you a traitor. Mine will question your loyalty. We would always be looking over our shoulders." Before he could answer, the stillness shattered. A distant gunshot cracked through the night. Then another. The sound rolled across the valley like thunder. Both of them turned sharply toward the horizon, where faint flashes of light flickered against the darkness. "The cavalry," Tala whispered, tension tightening her posture. Cole's instincts took over. He grabbed his rifle from beside the saddle, checking the chamber with steady hands. "Stay behind me," he said firmly, stepping in front of her. But Tala moved past him instead, reaching for her own weapon. "No," she said, her voice steady and fierce. "This is my fight too. My family is out there." In that moment, love and war stood side by side beneath the desert sky. Cole realized pleading alone would not keep her. If he wanted a future with Tala, he would have to face the storm with her, not run from it. Dawn broke over the desert in a blaze of pale gold, but there was no peace in its light. Smoke already stained the horizon, rising in dark columns from the direction of the Apache camp. The thunder of hooves shook the earth as the U.S. cavalry advanced, their blue uniforms cutting across the sand like a cold wave. Shouts echoed through the valley. Horses screamed. The sharp cracks of rifles split the morning air. Cole rode hard beside Tala, his jaw clenched, his rifle strapped across his back. Dust whipped against his face as they neared the chaos. Warriors rushed to defend their families, forming a fierce line against the soldiers pushing forward. Women gathered children, urging them toward the rocky hills beyond the camp. The smell of gunpowder mixed with fear and determination. A cavalryman recognized Cole as he galloped past. "Turner," the soldier shouted in disbelief. "Stand down. What the hell are you doing?" Cole didn't slow his horse. He fired a warning shot into the air, his voice carrying over the battle. "Choosing my own side." The words felt like a line drawn across his old life. There would be no going back after this. Bullets tore through canvas lodges. Arrows flew in swift retaliation. Tala rode straight into the heart of the fight, her movements fearless and precise. She dismounted near a group of elders struggling to move supplies and helped them onto waiting horses. Her face showed no hesitation, only fierce resolve. Cole covered her from behind a fallen wagon, firing carefully to hold back advancing soldiers. A bullet struck the wood inches from his hand, splintering it. Another grazed his shoulder, sending a burst of pain through him. He staggered but refused to fall. Through the smoke, he saw Tala guiding a group of children toward the narrow mountain pass. Their eyes met across the chaos. "You have to go," she shouted over the gunfire as she ran toward him one last time. "They will hang you for this." "I'm not leaving you," he yelled back, gripping her arm. She cupped his face, her touch trembling despite the strength in her gaze. "If you love me, live." Before he could argue, she pulled away and mounted her horse, riding toward the hills to lead her people to safety. Cole tried to follow, but another shot rang out, striking him hard enough to drop him to his knees. As dust and smoke swallowed the battlefield, he watched her silhouette disappear into the rising sun, torn between pride and heartbreak. Weeks passed, but the desert did not forget. The smoke from that brutal morning had long since faded from the sky, yet its memory lingered in the air like a ghost. Cole Turner survived the battle, though survival came at a cost. The bullet wound in his shoulder healed slowly, leaving behind a stiff ache that flared with every cold wind. What hurt more was what followed. Word spread quickly across the territory that he had fought alongside the Apache. Settlers who once shared whiskey with him now crossed the street to avoid him. Some called him a traitor. Others called him a fool. His ranch did not survive the anger. One night, flames swallowed the barn and fencing, turning years of hard work into ash. Cole stood at a distance, watching the fire paint the sky red, knowing exactly why it burned. He did not try to stop it. There was nothing left there worth saving. With only his horse and what little he could carry, he rode west of the ruins and made camp near the highest ridge overlooking the wide desert basin. From there, he could see miles of open land stretching toward the mountains where Tala had vanished. Each evening, as the sun began its slow descent, he climbed that ridge and waited. The sunsets became his measure of time. Crimson skies reminded him of her strength. Golden light across the sand reminded him of the warmth in her eyes. Some nights the wind howled so fiercely it nearly knocked him from the ridge, but he remained standing, hat pulled low, gaze fixed on the horizon. People in nearby towns whispered that he had lost his mind. A man doesn't wait for ghosts, they said. But Cole knew Tala was no ghost. One evening, as the sky turned a deep burning red, movement flickered at the far edge of the desert. A single rider appeared against the fading light, distant but unmistakable. Cole's breath caught in his chest. The figure sat tall and steady in the saddle, framed by the horizon itself. The rider stopped far away, close enough to be seen, too far to be touched. Even at that distance, he knew. Tala raised her hand slowly, the gesture deliberate and calm. Not farewell. Not surrender. A promise. Cole removed his hat, his heart steady for the first time in weeks. The wind carried no words between them, yet none were needed. The world had torn them apart, but it had not broken what they shared. As darkness settled over the wild west sky, he understood something simple and certain: love, like the desert, endures.